Hello everyone, I'm Shorty from Iron Resurrection, and if you ain't watching Rides Done Right, you ain't watching shit.
Hello friends, Rides Done Right, and we're at the 2020 Salem Roadster Show. I'm Larry, he's Greg.
Good day, everyone.
So new this year, we have a 5 competitor award. For the first time ever, they're doing an award competition at this show. So that ought to be fun to see how it goes.
It is, yeah, Pacific Northwest Emerald Award, yeah.
We've had one repeat that we have seen. We saw last year that will be coming back. And why don't you explain a little bit of that, how that worked?
Right, so the organizers of the show, Greg and Bob, have invited 5 5 really top cars that they really think will do that will draw, votes from people, and invited them here to compete for the award. First time they've ever done this for this show, and it's by invitation. So even if a car's shown here at the Salem Roadster Show in the past, they can come back for this award competition.
Yeah, so we're excited to show you how that goes, and we're going to actually tell you the winner at the end of this too. So it'll be fun to watch for. Let's get started by talking about something that they also changed this year, which is they expanded to 2 buildings. And one of the things that they did here is you have your standard roadsters and things that you expect to see at a show like this, but there would always be spurts of, say, 1 rat rod and 1 tuner car and 1 motorcycle or whatever. There was more with us, but and that was something that they said we can expand on that by putting a second building in, and we'll have more of everything everybody wants, and it's what they did.
Right. So it expands the car interest. It's basically a car show, and they're trying to get as much interest as possible, and everybody's interest is different. So you have different groups of car enthusiasts, and this is more of a car enthusiast show than it is just a roadster show.
So one of the categories that's always strong in this show is trucks. And last year I think we saw more trucks than we'd seen before, but this year what was really noted was the diversity in trucks. Trucks with all kinds of configurations, and big, small, drag trucks, just everything going on with them. And it accumulated with one that you know a little bit about. It's a guy that you've spent some time with.
Jerry Chinsroot, you had a 39 Chevy Halo that we interviewed you for previously. So if you want to entertaining a couple of minutes, go look at that video. But this year, Jerry brought, you called it the Beast. What is it?
It's a 41 Dodge pickup WD 21 cab that's been lengthened. It's a 138-inch wheelbase. It's got so many modifications that we could do 40 minutes on that, but we won't. It's running a 400B Chrysler that's been stroked to 508 cubic inch. It's running twin turbos at only 8 pounds of boost at 850 horse to the rear wheel. It's lots of modifications. The chassis, everything's kind of home built. We run a big Ford 9-inch in the rear on bags. The front end has got the grills that have been turned over, 2 top grills together.
Yeah.
And then I'm running, made my own sway bar in the front. It's got friction shocks. It's got steering that's
your kind of deal. That's all your isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my nightmares.
That your nightmares.
Yeah. And it's got chain drive steering to make me more room for the inside.
Yeah.
It's got wrenches that are for the door handles that are 1930 wrenches. And then the steering wheel is actually made out of 1908 wrenches, with about 111 button head screws on the back for grip.
Yeah.
And then the shifter is a 1914 bayonet that my uncle Eddie gave to me.
So one of the categories we had this year, as always, we had muscle cars, also called pony cars. And we had a black Charger that was here. It was real nice. We had a blue Falcon that was built by Creative Images, Kevin. Really nice guy, great builder in Newburgh. And then, of course, there was the actual pony cars, the Mustangs and Camaros.
Well, Camaros are obviously one of the things I lean towards. I've been a Camaro fan my whole life. So, and by the way, we always love to see lots of Mustangs and Camaros. We know they're popular. We know that people that are coming in expect to see some. They've got nice ones in the show. And the one that I was drawn to the most in this, Kerry Vanderbeck, is somebody that I'm familiar with, done stuff with him myself. And he did a 73 Z28 in blue with the gray stripes, and it's like a Pro Street almost. It's got the bigger motor, 410 horsepower, the Corvette series motor in it, but nice wheels, just done really well. Really liked that car, so that was a fun one for me to get to see. That would be the car that I think I would pick if I were doing a Camaro.
Yeah.
One of our favorite categories is always customs, and that is one that obviously is real near and dear, and you've kind of got that category down. Why don't you talk about a couple that we saw here that were pretty sweet?
Yeah, no, they're great cars. Low to the ground, all chopped and everything. There's two that really stood out nicely. One was called the Candy Kid, Mercury, and the owner is actually, this car is in the Portland Roadster Show Hall of Fame, and he's owned it since he was 18. He won the show, Portland Roadster Show, when he was 19 with this car, and amazing, right? The other really nice car, a 36 Ford Custom, with a white top, black body, down, with skirts. Really nice car.
I loved seeing that car when it came in, an all white interior with that white top, and it just shouts. It pulls you in when you see it moving. I mean, it was really sweet.
Yeah, it's a nice contrast.
For performance buffs, and I'm one of them, I know you are as well, drag cars were big in here. Again, we saw more of everything this year, so there were more drag cars. And what we when we queue in on drag cars, we queue in on wheelie bars. If we see wheelie bars or parachutes, we know we're kind of in the right category there. One of the cars that I noticed coming in is a guy that I used to cruise the gut with when I was a kid. Brought in a 39 Chevy that's got a 540 big block that runs 8.5s in the quarter, 150, and it's kind of cool because this guy's got a background in tractor pulling, and now he's into drag racing as well. So pretty much what he puts together is going to perform.
Anything performance, right? Yeah. He's into it.
Yeah. So in that second building too, they had overflow of the cars that were in here that were just extras, so they made it into the other hall. In addition to that, they had rat rods, and they had the two trucks that were in there, the big ones. And Stereo King was in there, and they were showing their custom installs right down the center aisle, which was pretty cool. Lonnie Thompson from Carolina Customs was in there with his wife's Nova that he just finished. Cool looking car.
Yeah, nice interior. Yep.
The other thing that I noticed was in the with tuners, they put tuners and they had them kind of spread around as well. But they had three tuners that were by each other. I think it was two tuners. And what we'd noticed is they both had wings on it, so we were comparing wings. And we thought, well, if we're going to show wings, there's a wing car right beside it. I think it was a rat rod with a wing on it as well.
Oh, it's a drag car. It's a Morris Minor, right? So it was pretty cool.
And the photos of that thing, we love to photo the rat rods anyway. They just look good.
Yeah.
So we had fun out in that hall. That whole hall, I would say, a huge success for the show, and I can't imagine now that they've opened that up, everybody's going to expect to see that every year, so we're looking forward to seeing that.
I've heard nothing but positive about that building and having that additional cars in different categories. It's really cool.
Well, as we let off with this show is now going to come down to the 5 competitors and who is going to win this first award, and why don't you talk about how this thing was judged to actually decide who was going to win?
Right. So the scoring mechanism for this show is unlike any other show I've ever been to. So this particular one has 5 different categories of people, groups of people that are voting for what they think is the winner. Right. They're going to put them in rank order from 1 to 5, and the show organizers get 20% of the vote. An ICA judge, so someone who really understands how to judge cars, came in. He judged. He'll have 20% of the score. The participants themselves will have a vote, and they're required to vote for their own as 5th place, right? So they can't put their own car first. Their sponsors get to pick, and then there's a group of people that are sort of, my understanding is random people that from the public that were handed out ballots, so they get the votes.
Let's introduce these 5 cars. The GTX has a little personal flavor for you. You actually had something similar when you were young?
Yeah, I did. It's a 67 Belvedere. I didn't have the GTX version, which has a 440. I had the lower, Belvedere. It was a 318. But that was my very first car in high school. I paid $500 for that thing, and I worked at Shakey's Pizza Parlor to make that thing, and I just drove that thing everywhere, and it was great. I did have a fun time with it. So.
And that car, more of the classic, of the 5 that are out here, that's more of the stock version car. And so when we're talking about voters and the diversity in voting, there's a very different vote that potentially goes to that car because it is different than some of the others.
The styling is pretty, subdued, if you will, compared to hot rods. Not a lot to it. In fact, my daughter, I showed my daughter, in a parking lot. I said, "Hey, that's just like the car I had, my very first car." And she looked at me and said, "Was that cool back then, Dad?"
That kind of sums up the category in a way. So one of the other cars that is in here, the Willis Car, which was owned by Chipman's, and here's a little snippet of the interview from that.
Well, this is sort of my dream car. It's a 1941 Willys, and I built it, or had it built the way I wanted it. I dreamed about this car for a long time, especially the engine was my favorite thing that I was really working towards. It has a 502.
What kind of horsepower is it putting out?
It's about 450.
450? Now, is this a car you've been driving already, or did you finish it and just start showing it?
No, I just bought it and finished it. It was bare nothing, and we took off on it. We reskinned part of it ourselves and everything else.
So bare nothing means that you got the chassis, you started from scratch, built the whole thing up?
Yes.
What kind of chassis do you use?
It was special made for this body. Interior was done by a gentleman named Jan Lynn in Eugene, Oregon. And he and I have a thing too. It's my father used to own 5 upholstering shops in southern Indiana. So I know a little bit about upholstery, and he and I have a good thing. If he does something and I don't like it, he redoes it for nothing.
Oh,
so
wow.
You know that he's going to do the job that I like.
The other rig that's in the contest that we'd already said was here last year, and that was Matt Warden, and we interviewed him. So here's a little bit of that interview as well.
It's a 1964 Chevy Truck, and we basically just ripped her apart from the top to bottom, and it took us about 8 years to build it. I mean, it took almost 2 years just to finish the frame with all the welding and running the lines, and there's not a panel on here we haven't touched in some shape or form. The motor is a 540 big block Chevy, 1071 blower. It's injected, and it's about 1,200 horse right now, which is plenty. We are running a 700 R4, and a lot of my buddies told me it wouldn't hold up to the power, but so far it's been flawless.
So was it is it a stock 700 R4?
No, it's been modified, heavily modified, but I wanted that additional overdrive, so that's why I gave it a shot.
All right.
And it's been great. We have the Wellwood brakes all the way around, 14-inch rotors, 6-piston calipers. Yeah, plus I got an additional one underneath the frame in order to get the line pressure up that I needed. The truck was in really good shape when I bought it. I bought it in 2000. We were living in Fresno, California at the time. Bought it from a police officer who had it stolen out of his garage.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew I wanted to restore it to this level at my son Bob's funeral.
Okay.
All of his buddies were over at the house telling stories and how much Bob enjoyed driving the truck and doing burnouts in the school parking lot.
And is this anything you knew about?
Which I did not know about. And at the time I might have been upset, but I knew what direction I wanted to take the truck, and we were going to dedicate it to Bob. We got back from a show, and the truck was in the trailer, and I was backing the truck out to go ahead and put it in the shop. Beautiful Sunday afternoon, sun was shining, and I thought to myself, doggone it, I'm going to drive this sucker. And I went and got my wife, Renee. She hadn't been in it, and she was a little hesitant, wanted to make sure I was going to putt-putt, and I said, yes, I will putt-putt. Well, that lasted about 10 minutes, and then I put my foot into it, and the rear end kicks left, she'll kick right, and then gathered her back up.
You have posse.
Yeah, well, I have posse. And then I stabbed it again. And that 700 R4 downshifted, and before I knew it, it was 8,000 RPM, and we were on ice.
Oh, wow.
Ended up going backwards up a hill, across an irrigation ditch, through a barbed wire fence, into a guy's front yard.
Wow.
And by the time the truck came to a stop, I come flying out, run to the other side, open up Renee's door. "Are you okay?" She calmly looks at me and says, "I will never ride with you again."
That's not a putt-putt drive.
And it took us about another year to finish rebuilding the truck, and we finished it about a little over a year ago.
One of the vehicles that I was drawn to when they advertised right off the bat was that cab over. Really cool, and in a way kind of a novelty, but in another way, man, it goes beyond novelty when you say, man, I'd love to have that and drive it around town and be able to have fun with it.
Exactly what I told Jeff. I said, I've wanted a cab over. I've been telling my wife, this is the coolest. She doesn't get it, but I'm like, if I had a cab over, that's exactly what I'd do to it.
Really done well. I really liked it, and check out the interview when I got a chance to talk to Jeff on that.
Okay, well, it's a 1947 Ford cab over engine, or short COE. It has a small block 383 stroker engine in it. It's backed up with a 700R4 automatic transmission with a 390 rear end, which is actually a 1-ton dually rear end. That has semi rims on it. They're actually a 22.5 rim that's been milled down to a 22 to accommodate a low pro tire. They're 10 lug. I have an adapter in there that goes from 8 up to 10 to work with this big rim on this small low profile truck. I also have black walnut wood on the bed. I'm actually a walnut farmer, so I thought that'd be really cool to work that into the build to kind of stay with what I kind of knew, and so I used black walnut. The interior was all handmade by a shop in my town, by Cool Customs. They did everything all by hand and stitched it and rolled it. The paint and the body work was all done by the Stanley Brothers, the shop that I had found. They did all the fabrication work for me and all the, like I said, the paint. And the bright work was done by a guy named Johnny Ray Rodriguez, who did all the chrome or plating, if you would want to say, on all the stuff here on the truck. We kind of took some fenders that were similar to what I have here on the truck, and we started with a few different colors, and we went back and forth. We shot them onto a fender, clear coated them, and then took them outside into the sun, and especially on a nice sunny day, and just tried to see how the light would pick up with the different pearls. And when you talk with builders, it's always tough. Color is always a tough thing. No, I'm not going to be hauling too many walnuts in the back of it, but I have driven it, though, to answer that question. I've actually had about close to 3,000 miles on the truck so far, so I have enjoyed driving it. It's fun to have out on the road and see people's reaction when I'm going down the road and what they just passed. Whenever I do stop at a gas station and putting gas in, it's tough because people walk up and they start talking to me. I got my wallet out, I got my credit card out, I got my wife with me, and I got to make sure that when I leave that they're all in the truck with me because I might leave one of them behind.
Well, we finished off the grouping with Tommy Carr's Nomad, and you had a chance to talk to him, and here's a snippet of some of that interview.
I'll tell you, when he first talked to me about it, I thought he was talking about restoring them because, you know, everybody thought it was a sin to cut up a Nomad.
Kind of like Corvettes.
Yeah.
There's a whole,
Yeah. So, you know, I wanted to do it, but I wasn't really passionate about it. But when Glenn started talking about some of his ideas and his feelings about the car, it energized me. They had it back on the chassis, and that was probably about it. It just needed everything. It was like a start over kind of thing.
From what, you know, from all the details, all the things, it's hardly anything you didn't touch, right?
No, yeah, we changed everything, and it was really fun. I really don't like building cars where the clients are not really involved. And Glenn lives just right by me. We didn't really know each other, but we quickly became like best friends. And he had lots of ideas. And sometimes I would go, I don't think so. And he'd just drop it, you know. It was like he really liked my opinion. So, and I did too. There were multiple things on the car that Glenn had major influence on too. right at the beginning, turning the bumpers over was, we really liked that. But usually I had seen that done on cars, and they flip them over, but they don't do any finish to it. So we made all the sheet metal fit around and made the upper filler part and made a little air dam piece underneath of it. So it was far more than just flipping the bumpers. And then the back, it was like we have to do something to tie it in, you know, make it like it. So we kind of came up with flipping that over, but doing more the bumperette thing, and it worked out really well. And then we Frenched the body around it a little bit more. But everything was, most of the build was, you know, I get ideas in my mind. I can usually kind of see what I want to build in my mind, you know, and it's not really hit and miss. Kind of a funny little story was that, like when we were doing the interior, I sketched on a pad what I had ideas as far as the seat and some of the things, and just a pencil. I'm not like Chip Foose or anything like that, you know. But you could you could get the idea, you know. And maybe it might have a little stick figure in it or something. But what was really fun at the end of the job, because I still had that little piece of paper and it had notes, it had phone numbers on it that he accused me of there were girls' phone numbers. And but anyway, I framed it and I gave it to him. Glenn took us all to dinner and we had a little time of sharing things, and it was really great.
Results are in. Matt Ward's truck won.
Well deserving. It's a tribute car at that, or truck, and so nicely done. It's really over the top. The judge even told me. I talked to the judge. He says it's such a nice truck.
It's flat out one of the nicest trucks I've ever seen. We profiled it. We've already talked about it. Congratulations, Matt. You guys deserve it.
Yep.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.